Um, this is one of the times that I'm very concerned about a possible nuclear war, and this is one of the times I'm really trying to control my fear, so it's not showing me on the outside. It's not showing on the outside, but I don't know if you know this, but I had psychic episodes in the past where I've sort of predicted the future, but I'll give you the bottom line. It's going to start with a psychic event that had nothing to do with nuclear war at first. I'll tell you what happened. On Friday, March 28th, 2009, I was in a special needs school in Boston, and that day my teacher was running late. She ran late previously lots of times before, but something felt off. I felt something that just didn't seem right. But know how I am. I talk about everything. I immediately notified the teachers what my concern was. I told them I have a bad feeling that the teacher had a car accident. I even said I'm 100% sure. I was very sure. I know she had a car accident. I know it. At the time I said I know she had an accident. I'm 100% certain. There was no mistaking. I was so certain. I never had a bad gut feeling that strong before that had not come true. It was so bad. It was like the anxiety was literally shaking me to my core. It was over other things too. I was anxious at home mourning, but there was no mistaking what I was feeling, what I was actually mentally thinking too. And I actually blame myself, saying it's because of what I was saying and thinking that she had the accident. I kind of had the blame mentality when I was earlier, thinking, oh, if you think bad things will happen. But actually, what I was thinking actually already happened later. I'll tell you exactly what happened. Then I felt better by the early mid-morning, by towards 11, 12 o'clock. I felt a little better. I still felt kind of under the weather. The weather was like today in New York City, April 27th. Actually, today is the 50th anniversary, 60th anniversary of the the Tuscaloosa, Birmingham tornado of the Southeast outbreak. But I'll get to that later. Anyway, later that day, the 28th, I had another, even stronger feeling, even more dreadful to the point I actually cried a little bit. I almost never cry. That's one thing I am known for. I almost never cry. It has to do with my autism. I mean, I feel emotions, but I don't express them very well. I'm very good at bottling up my emotions, like concealing my emotions, very well at that. To the point that most people think I'm kind of stoic, but I feel emotions even stronger than most people. Because I've cried when I was only feeling emotion 1/10 as powerful when I was younger. I just don't like, I always felt that crying, hurt. It hurt, the tears. So I hated that feeling of crying, so I would hold my tears. But some tears did, come to my eyes. It wasn't true crying. It was maybe like weeping. Like, I wasn't like sobbing at all. So what happened then, I had a feeling that someone died in my family. That a tragedy struck my family. And I was so sure about it that, again, I told other people, and a really good friend of mine who was also, a job coach there, because a really close friend, told me that, we talked it out. So I tried to convince myself that it was seasonal affective disorder, because the weather, like today in New York City, was just very cloudy and just, dreadful. There was a storm coming in. I love bad weather, but it was cloudy with no rain, no drizzle. It was just boring, cloudy, like like you see in bad movies where it's just no sun. It's like that for several days. So I assumed it was because of that. But then I had but later what happened was, so I felt better. The weekend came through. I felt much better, relieved. It was raining a lot. I felt much better, as if nothing happened, as if the crisis was over. So Monday came. The teacher was in school. She came to school, and I asked her what happened. She told me she had a car accident. I was like, wait, what? I'm like, are you okay? How's your child? Because, she had a child with her. She told me the child was fine. I was relieved. And the accident was nothing more than a little tap. It was a fender bender. No serious damage to the car. Her car went to the shop for a few weeks. Then she got it back. But I called my father 3 days later. I called my mom, my grandma and my mom earlier that day, the 28th. They told me everything's fine. But I called my father about 5 days later. I asked him how the cat's doing. He told me the cat died. I never lived with my father, but I was kind of close to the cat. I developed some sort of emotional connection to the cat and to the, into my to my grandmother, to my grandfather, and my father to my father's side. And I asked when the cat died. They told me in the afternoon, but he was put down in the afternoon. The incident where he jumped off of the furniture, the high-level furniture, like something like this tall, pretty big furniture. He jumped off and got impaled on a sharp object, a needle. Not a needle, something to hold up the plants, a wooden stick got embedded in his stomach. So by the time the cat hid under the bed, trying to avoid, to die peacefully. But they found the cat, they brought him to the vet. The surgery was too expensive, so the cat was put down right around 2 o'clock in the afternoon, 1:30, right when I had the second dreadful feeling, right about that time. So, but that was a telepathic type event, not a psychic per se. But I've had some psychic events which scared the hell out of me, and this one had to do with nuclear explosions. So, I don't know the exact date I had this vision, but yes, vision. The vision I had happened when I was going to elementary school, so before I was even in middle school. This happened when I was in 5th grade, when I was 11. I was left back a year because I was really sick when I was younger. I had constant GI infections, flus, so I was left back a year. Also, I was in District 75, which is for people with disabilities because, I have autism. So then, I was already getting concerned about very vivid dreams because I've noticed vivid dreams do in fact come true for me because I don't dream much. So then what happened was I told a lot of people about my dream. I'm worried about nuclear war, blah, blah, blah. I really had a bad feeling about it, but I wasn't overly terrified. But that dream is what really got me terrified. And I know I have nucleophobia. I haven't been diagnosed with it, but it's part of my generalized anxiety because of precognitive dreams. And I tried to watch every movie possible that would match the scene that I had in that dream with the hopes of thinking, oh, maybe it's the subconscious. Maybe I've seen a movie like that before and it's all subconscious. Yeah, the dream was in 2003. The video game that had that explosion in it didn't come out until 2006. I'll tell you about that later. I was playing a game called Heat Seeker. There was a scene in the video game where Granuja, a crazy dictator general of this island of Granuja, I forgot the name of the general, that was the name of the country island, I think, launched a nuclear missile at the invading force, that was supposed to take him out because he was smuggling arms. He was a drug dealer. It wasn't really a country, it was more of a island state. It was a small island, maybe 10 miles big, in the Atlantic Ocean. He launched a nuclear missile. And so first it was a missile was launched. They said, oh, nuclear missile launched. Radioactive signatures confirmed. It's nuclear. The missile hit. Just like in my dream, everything went white. No mushroom cloud. The missile came down in the same, almost exact same trajectory as a video game. I mean, in my dream, except there was no trailing sparks like it from the dream, like the meteors would have had. But nevertheless, it was just like in my dream. And I was so relieved. Because I was trying to do that. It really made me realize, yes, I do have psychic abilities. But the dream happened in the video game, so I was relieved. Until 2014, until I had another prophetic dream where it was, again, nuclear. But it kind of was similar to what happened in Wolverine. So I had it looked like the movie I saw, but it was different. It took place in a desert. I was in a bunker. But I saw a lot of graphic violence from that dream. A little bit graphic, not overly graphic. Mostly people being, burnt alive type stuff. Bad. Then the dream fast forward, I ended up in the hospital. They were checking me for radiation, the whole 9 yards. And that was January 2014, I'm sorry. Before, the whole crisis in Ukraine got underway. But I turned on the news a couple days later after the dream, and I was already concerned about America-Russia relationships because of that dream. I turned on the news. Guess what the news is saying? Protests in Ukraine. I told my parents, you see that movie, you see what's going on in Ukraine? The dream I had might come true. They're like, what are you talking about? They're just protesting Ukraine. I'm like, yes, Viktor Yanukovych is Russian-backed. A civil war is about to erupt in Ukraine. That's before he even fled. I already got bad feeling. So I kind of I analyzed the situation, analytically, said how it's going to go down if there was to be a nuclear war. I said it will begin with, after he fled. I said, okay, now the civil war is going to begin. It's going to begin. Russia's going to back Yanukovych. America's going to back somebody else. It's going to go really bad. We're going to have a new Cold War, and it will eventually go nuclear. And just as I warned, the chain started turning, and I did tell my parents, and we both started getting concerned. We were already talking about what we were going to do in the event of a nuclear war. I was even talking about that in March, what we would do, because I was so sure it was going to happen. But it blew over, but we're still tense because of the Ukrainian crisis. Plus, Malaysian Airlines flight was shut down over, Donetsk, so it got really bad. It got to the point where I was pretty concerned, but now not as I am as right now, because now we have Trump as president. Freaking Donald Trump. Trump is a freaking wild card, and he's very dangerous and very unpredictable, and I wouldn't be surprised if he's part of Agenda 21 and will try to reduce the global population through nuclear warfare. That's my big concern. That they're doing this as an attempt to lower the global population through an armed nuclear conflict. That's my concern. Is it going to happen? I don't know. But the dreams I've had warn me about something going on. And maybe if it's not part of Agenda 21, maybe it's all meant to happen. But I'm warning you, this nuclear war will happen. It will not be extinction level. That's all I'm going to say. It's not going to be all out, humanity is going to get extinct. No. It's going to be a limited nuclear war, which means that maybe 100 to 200 nukes will be fired. We're still going to have a nuclear winter, especially in the Northern Hemisphere. The Southern Hemisphere will remain mostly unscathed, but there'll still be some effects, maybe some mild volcanic nuclear winter effects. You will have some crop failures, some droughts, especially droughts, because you'll have less heat, less evaporation. That will cause a lot of the rains to fail. Monsoons are going to fail. You're going to have a lot of droughts. You're going to have a lot of hurricanes. Surprisingly, yes, cooler weather means you'll have less shear, which means the Atlantic Ocean might have more hurricanes. Maybe not. It's because it's going to be so cold. But there likely will be a nuclear conflict that will occur between Russia, North Korea, and China. Maybe even Europe. But knowing that it will potentially kill the planet, they might not go all out. They might hit strategic targets like military installations, silo bases, some cities. And I think when all is said and done, close to about 1 to 2 billion people will die. From the first 6 months, total, I think 2 to 3 billion will die if this does unfold. From drought, famine, disease, starvation, and it'll take decades for the earth to recover. That's why I'm telling you people should leave North America for a while until this blows over. Or until the crisis comes to pass, because there's a chance it could come to pass. But with Trump in office, within the next 3 years, we will, with 90% certainty, have a nuclear conflict of some sort, or some sort of big war. It may not be nuclear, but it's definitely a possibility. And there will definitely be a nuclear conflict within my lifetime, because I already had the dream. The dream was different from the video game. I was like surrounded by everything. Unlike in the movie in the video game where I was just looking at it, it seemed pretty vague, but it was still very vivid. That dream I had in 2014 was even more vivid. I even felt the heat blast coming in. It was really bad. So I'm going to say we're probably going to have a nuclear conflict. I just don't know the day it's going to begin, but another person heard predicted a nuclear war between May 13th and October 13th. I will pay attention to that. I would definitely keep my eyes open. And if you're really concerned about your safety, please flee to the Southern Hemisphere. I know this sounds crazy, but I would definitely get out of here as soon as possible, because this could go bad. It could go bad really quickly. And Trump is not deliberately, but he's definitely not de-escalating things. He's definitely pushing things towards nuclear war. He is doing things that's going to provoke North Korea. First of all, with putting the THAAD in South Korea, that's a very, very, very provocative move, and I would not be surprised if North Korea would reciprocate that, would seem that as a big threat, maybe even act of war, and do something about it. That's very likely going to happen, and North Korea might be mobilizing missiles, artillery towards the border. We're at DEFCON 4 right now. We should be at DEFCON 3 within the next 5 days, and maybe even DEFCON 2 by May 12th. This is escalating very quickly. Even if China and Russia back us, even if it's only going to be a nuclear war in Asia, there will still be some mild nuclear winter effects. So I am saying that I don't want anybody to die. I don't want this nuclear war to happen. I don't want this conflict to happen at all. This is why I was very concerned about Trump becoming president. I had very, very bad feelings about him becoming president. Yeah, you had all these televangelists saying, "Oh, Trump is going to be great. He's a voice of God." No, Trump is not the voice of God. Trump is clearly anti-God because he's clearly doing things that are going to destroy things. He's clearly doing things that are very, very dangerous and very, very unethical. And God would definitely not support that. Hillary Clinton, not better at all. Ethically, she's even worse. Bernie Sanders or Jill Stein would have been a better choice for this country and for the world, in fact. Jill Stein would have found a very peaceful approach to this. But unfortunately, we have to deal with Trump. I warned my family if Trump is elected, we would have a nuclear war. I warned them. And they didn't listen to me. They still voted for that JA. Looks like it's going to happen now. Thank you, Trump. And thank you, people who clearly want a freaking nuclear war. I mean, I hope cooler heads prevail, and I hope my vision, which is an alternate future, that I hope does not come to pass. Thank you for watching. Bye. And yes, I've had psychic events before. I'm going to tell you one more time. I'm not making this up. This really happened. I might even put my Facebook link out there. And, it might take some work to do, but go down to 2012. I predicted an earthquake and ended up happening. That was more just of a gut feeling. Kind of like what Stephen McDonald did back in 2011. He's also autistic. He predicted a big earthquake in New Zealand. People with autism are becoming known for predicting future events. It has to do with brain vibrations. I'll explain that in another video. Thank you for watching. Bye.